Hello and welcome to the Voice of TOD. I'm Tom, and in this video we're going to talk about E3 with a focus on the upcoming Xbox and Bethesda E3 conference, which I will be watching and reacting to live on this very channel on Sunday the 13th of June. There has been a huge amount of money spent to get Xbox Studios into a position to combat the Sony first-party catalogue of wonderful and expansive story-driven games over the past generation, and hopefully now we will start to see the fruits of the billions of dollars spent. With 23 first-party studios now under the combined Xbox and Bethesda banner, could we be seeing the pieces set for Xbox to dominate in the coming years? We're going to take a look at what all the studios are currently working on or rumoured to be working on, and make some predictions about what we might see on Sunday, along with some love-to-see mentions for third-party studios who have a very close working relationship with Xbox that might pop up throughout the conference. But with so much to cover, I couldn't possibly do it alone. So, I'd like to welcome Sam to the channel for the very first time. I've known Sam for, well, probably too long, and our friendship is pretty much built on alcohol and Halo 3. So, with those glory days over...
Speaking of which...
Cheers.
Cheers, little boy.
Sam, would you like to share any Xbox memories or any big things of your Xbox
Tom,
history?
I've killed you so many times, it's hard to pick a favourite. Anything involving a sniper rifle.
There's video evidence that definitely doesn't confirm that.
There's the occasional video that does.
Yeah, that you may have tweaked over time, that's true.
I delete the ones where you win.
Doesn't everybody? Actually, my favourite Xbox moment was playing ODST when Firefight just came out.
Yeah.
And I was in a Warthog driving, you were in the turret in the back. We were on the last level. I think we were playing on Heroic. I don't think we'd quite hit Legendary yet.
Okay.
And we had one hunter left of the pair.
I remember this.
Couldn't hit, your shield was up, you just couldn't hit it, so I just gunned the Warthog into the hunter in the last couple of seconds of the match, and we took it out somehow. If I still had the clip, I would play it now.
More luck than judgment.
Definitely more luck than judgment. But if you're going to go out, you've got to do it properly.
In style, definitely.
So, yeah, it was, and that's always one of my favourite Halo moments and Xbox moments. So thank you for that memory.
Anytime.
Yeah, next one, Infinite, we'll see. But let's start with the third-party stuff, because that's probably a bit easier. So, Sam, do you think we'll see anything about Cyberpunk 2077 and the promised but missing DLC or next-gen upgrade?
I've already lost interest.
Really?
I never got to the end of Cyberpunk. I got to the bit where it tells you that if you go any further, you are in the end game.
Yeah.
So it's like the ending, you lose access to the open world.
Okay.
My character wasn't a particularly high level when I got there, so I wandered around the streets, polishing off some side missions, and just got bored. I think my plan was I was going to wait until the next-gen update came out, so it was looking a little better.
Yeah.
And then they've just delayed that, haven't they? So
we're looking at back end of this year. We don't know when. Hopefully at some point before Christmas.
My plan is I'll probably park it and maybe go back to it, but I don't know. I'm worried that I've lost interest in it now, and I'm not sure I will go back to it. Depends what comes out. If we find that there's a lot of games released that do come out and they look good, it will probably just start gathering dust with Cyberpunk. But
well, this is the problem with Game Pass and having Game Pass, especially on something like the Xbox Series X that we both have.
Yeah.
You've got so much competition for even older games, 12 months old, whatever. Anything like that is just going to have to fight really hard. Twice as hard if you've already played most of it.
I think so, and I think it all depends on the release schedule, doesn't it? It's all very well announcing a host of new games at E3, but then if none of them come out within 12 months, then Cyberpunk makes more of a case for itself.
Yes. See, my plan is, and I played it in about 2-3 weeks. I put 90 hours into it over Christmas. I absolutely loved it. Yes, it has problems. I didn't have many of them, but I really want to go back and play it again and just see if my enjoyment was just the hype of the moment or if it really is a good game. So I want to go back. I really want to play it. It's something that I want to play on stream, having experienced the story and done all that stuff. But I'm waiting for that next gen update, and the more I sit here waiting, it is very much a case of I'm just not as interested now.
Yeah, I get it. Don't think the gameplay or the story was compelling enough to carry it for this length of time whilst we wait for fixes and updates and DLC. Yeah. I think they may have blown it, I'm sorry to say.
And what about then? We know that Witcher 4 is in the works.
Now, I think they'll stand a better case with that. I think it's a more beloved franchise. They've probably got a lot of code in the bank from The Witcher 3. If they can do a relatively bug-free release and not sort of repeat some of the mistakes of Cyberpunk and, The Witcher 3 before it.
Right.
Yeah, I think they've seen the damage that can do now. But
well, they did get hacked as well.
Yes.
So all the code has been duplicated and taken away.
What a shame.
I mean, it's a horrific thing to happen, and it's caused them all no end of problems.
And I mean, what are people going to do with stolen code for a game, though? Just go out and make a similar game?
They sold it on the dark web for about $8 million.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Ouch.
I might not have been $8 million, but it was definitely sold within a week of them taking it. So,
but they haven't lost anything, is my point. No. They've still got a copy of the engine that they were going to use to make the game. They've still got the game files that they were going to use to make the game. So just carry on making the game.
But fix Cyberpunk first. Or do you think Cyberpunk is effectively just done now? It's not even on the PlayStation Store yet.
I don't know. I really don't know. I think that the reputational damage has been severe. And as I say, neither the story of the game nor the gameplay itself was compelling enough to recover it from that. So even if they fix all the bugs, you're still just left with a game that's okay. I mean, it's good. I had fun with it. I actually enjoyed the bugs. I thought the bugs were the most enjoyable part of it, watching crazy stuff happen around you.
No end of videos from you with
That's
all
what
these
my
weird
capture
bugs.
library is on my Xbox. It's just about 30 different videos of things going crazily wrong in Cyberpunk. And they were the most fun parts of playing it, in my experience.
Yeah. They did add an element of charm, I think. So Cyberpunk is probably going to be a bust then. I think we'll see date. I think that they will say, we are confirming at least some DLC to drop by August or September or whatever. It might be that the next gen update drops at the anniversary of the game, so December. I don't know. Right. But I think we will get a small hint of something. Maybe not in the conference, but it will be mentioned somewhere on the day that it will be confirmed for this time.
Yeah. It's either that, you'll see a sneak peek of some very, very good looking Cyberpunk extras that will make people want to go back to it.
Yeah.
Or you'll see a very short teaser video for The Witcher 4, and that will be it. They'll just try and start a bit of early hype for the next game.
Yeah, they did take 7 years after announcement to get Cyberpunk out, didn't they? So it probably track that they do Witcher 4 now and we get it in 7 years' time.
Well, just one of those videos where you see like a really shiny sort of wolf badge or something, and then, coming soon.
You know how they got Keanu Reeves on for Cyberpunk? Do you think they get Henry Cavill on for The Witcher 4?
Oh, no, that's interesting. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it, if they did a crossover between the TV series and the games?
Now, that isn't one of my predictions, but I kind of wish it was now. I think the world needs more Henry Cavill.
I think they might, if they were doing a stage announcement, then they might have Henry Cavill come on and announce the game.
That would be pretty cool. That would be very interesting. With the Ubisoft show coming, I think, just before the Microsoft conference, have you seen the latest updates on, what have we got? Valhalla, Far Cry 6 is due out this year. There's Valhalla, new DLC. Do you think we will see anything other than Far Cry 6?
I don't know. I love Far Cry. I think the series is brilliant. Far Cry 6, the footage I've seen so far looks amazing. Looks very polished. Looks like an absolute riot of action and fun, with that sort of dark sense of humour that runs through the series. And honestly, they've earned enough credit with me that they wouldn't have to show me anything. They would just have to say, Far Cry 6, 50 quid, and I'd hand the money over just on trust at this point. Cause
what if it's 70 quid?
Then I might wait a little longer.
Wait till it's 50 quid.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really go wrong with Giancarlo Esposito, though, can you?
No, he's very good value.
Yep.
Assassin's Creed, I think, is difficult for me because I was such a fan of the early series when you actually felt like an assassin, and it was more about the parkour and blending in with crowds, getting up to your target and making that kill. Whereas as soon as it turned a bit more RPG, where if you weren't a certain level, you could only knock someone on the head instead of killing them, that's where they sort of lost my attention. I know that sort of Odyssey and Valhalla were both quite highly praised, but I found them both a bit of a struggle, to be honest. I've not really been able to get into them.
Yeah, I loved Odyssey, but I think that's just because it was the first game in a long time that had just thrown you in an ancient Greek setting and let you explore this mythos of that world, and it was such a beautiful landscape to just play around in. The biggest problem, and I played Origins, didn't grab me, and I played Valhalla on stream. I got to a point and it wasn't. I really liked the start of it, and then something just took me out. I don't even know what it was.
The settings are always amazing, aren't they? I mean, the graphics are gorgeous. The world building's superb. I just find like they feel so artificially drawn out and filled with side tasks that are boring and don't really lend anything to the game. I'd rather they were shorter and smaller but more focused, I think.
I mean, that's a Ubisoft problem, isn't it? I think everything that Ubisoft do now is so drawn out, and it's all about how can we milk this for additional purchases, add-ons and loot boxes.
It's become a bit of an obsession with the open world. Like, everyone wants an open world, a big, sprawling, graphical, active open world, but like that comes at the expense of like a story, a compelling narrative that makes you actually want to continue through the game. I mean, the last Assassin's Creed game that I played and genuinely enjoyed was Black Flag, and that was superb. But by the time I got to the end of the story, it was a great story. It was a lot of fun. But I think I'd only uncovered about 60% of the map, and then there wasn't really a lot keeping me going there. I would have been interested to see what was in the rest of it, but there wasn't any story to keep me going.
I did purposefully with Odyssey go to every corner of that map pretty much, and I explored every little bit and tried to see as much as possible. If I hadn't have done that, at the end of the main quest, which is really what you judge these games on, the side quests obviously add things. They add characters and experience in these games. But if I had just done the main story, which was good enough, I would have uncovered 20% of the map.
Yeah, it relies on exploration, but doesn't really give you a compelling reason to do it.
Yeah,
I'm not one of these players who gets overexcited by a different coloured costume or a different shaped sword or anything like that. Yeah. I need the narrative to get me through it a lot of the time.
Yeah, we're both very story focused, I think, when it comes to things like that. And Assassin's Creed has definitely fallen from what it used to be. And an Assassin's game where you can't sneak up behind someone and kill them in one hit doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
You need that assassination.
I mean, you've got a knife on your wrist. Yeah. If you then need to go and do sort of 30 side quests just so you're strong enough to actually pierce someone's skin with it, it just loses me when they do things like that.
That's very true. One more question before we move on to our next third party.
Okay, shoot.
Why is Splinter Cell still not in production?
I don't know. I love Splinter Cell. I've always loved Splinter Cell. Yeah, unlike Assassin's Creed, I think I've been on board with every single game in the series. It felt sort of dry and slow with the first game, but then once they got beyond that first game, they fell into a very comfortable pattern. I used to enjoy playing Splinter Cell, as far back as sixth form and university. I got so into it, I used to stalk around the house, sneaking up on my housemates and scaring the crap out of them.
I can believe that.
Yeah, I don't know, which one was the last one? Blacklist or Conviction?
Conviction was the last
Sam Fisher.
Really good one. The last Conviction was Michael Ironside, wasn't it? And then Blacklist was the young actor who was in Rookie Blue, I think. Can't remember his name. He was that memorable. Which I don't think Conviction's my favourite because it had that more fast-paced action style that I prefer. And I'm not very good at stealth. But Blacklist was okay.
Do you know, I might have to say that Double Agent was my favourite.
You never played it?
It was superb. It was hard. It was really hard. But
that was the one before Conviction, right?
It was, yeah. It was a brilliant combination of sort of the old style of gameplay, but it had sort of moral choices that had meaningful outcomes to the story as well.
Right.
It felt very tense at times. Like, sort of, do you try and stop a terrorist attack and save a lot of innocent people, or do you allow the attack to go ahead to maintain your cover within a terrorist organisation?
Was it heavily influenced by 24 at the time then?
Yeah,
it was around that time, wasn't it?
Yeah, from the second one onwards, I think, from Pandora Tomorrow through to Double Agent, I think that you could feel the influence of the 24 TV series in the game and the storytelling. But it made it the better for it.
Not a bad influence at all, is it?
Not at
really?
all.
24 was excellent, mostly.
And I think maybe the thing with Splinter Cell is it changed in terms of the gameplay with Conviction, and then Blacklist was sort of a hybrid of the old style and the new style. And I'm just wondering if maybe they've fallen into a bit of an identity crisis and don't really know what kind of a game they're making now.
I honestly think with Splinter Cell being at Ubisoft, and Ubisoft do all the Tom Clancy, and a lot of them, I say a lot of them, the Division 2 was well received, but I don't think anything has been since. But with this desire to do everything open world and exploring, that doesn't work for Splinter Cell. So I think you're right. It doesn't fit with what they want to push and their signature style. So they don't want to do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. Splinter Cell is all very much about infiltration, isn't it?
Mm.
Sort of working your way inside a building, maintaining a stealth element, trying to achieve an objective and escape without being seen, I suppose, is the ideal for a spy in that environment. But yeah, you're right. If the direction of the company is just make everything a massive sprawling open world, then yeah, kind of difficult to see how the story would work with a Splinter Cell game. Not impossible though. I mean,
no. You just need. I think you would need a studio that would be brave enough to do it, and for them to kick back when Ubisoft say, "But what if you made the map 1,000,000 times bigger?"
What if everybody was a Splinter Cell?
Well, I think at this point, Splinter Cell fans would take a multiplayer only, like a standalone 6v6 Spies versus Mercs style game.
Do you know what?
mode.
Actually, Splinter Cell came out with one of the best multiplayer games I've come across. I think it was in Chaos Theory, which was the third one, where
I remember that.
it was just co-op Splinter Cell. So there was you and someone else trying to complete a mission together, and that was incredibly good. Like timing kills to coincide at the same time, giving each other leg ups to get over the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to think that was a lot of fun, and there's literally nothing else like that at the moment, I don't believe. So, yeah, well overdue return to form. I'd love to see.
There's definitely a gap in the market for stealth game. I mean, yes, okay, you've got Hitman. Hitman 3 was really well received. But there isn't a solid stealth game out there for me, personally.
What do we think the last genuinely good stealth game was? Metal Gear Solid 5?
Never played it.
Oh, mate, it was brilliant.
It
was really good.
Ground Zero, whatever the
that was like that was the setup for it, wasn't it? Which was also
that,
good.
and I had a great time with it, but I just never got around to 5.
I think the thing is it still a stealth game when you're attaching people to giant helium balloons and waiting for an aeroplane to come and sweep them away?
Well, as long as you're in stealth, then yes. I suppose. But that was
fair enough.
Thinking of 24, that was voiced by Kiefer Sutherland, wasn't it? So
yes,
maybe every stealth game needs Kiefer Sutherland,
or at least the influence of Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah.
There we are.
I'd be happy with that.
Come on, Kiefer. Revive this sector of the gaming industry.
What else is he doing these days?
Well, he's probably still relaxing off the back of all that 24 money.
Yeah, that's very true. I won't mind a bit of that 24 money, to be honest. But we should probably stick with games. So moving on, Square Enix. Now, of late, a lot of the Square Enix news has been very Final Fantasy focused and very Sony focused. But we're talking Xbox. And with the 25th anniversary this year, I think last month it was celebrated, and quite a few things in the line, animated and live action movie-wise. Are we going to see anything of a new Tomb Raider?
Game or movie?
With E3 and how, you remember how the Xbox TV studio stuff went over about 8 years ago now, I would have to say game.
I think we may have heard some whispers about it by now if there was going to be an announcement of a new Tomb Raider. The last one was great. I really liked that Square Enix Tomb Raider trilogy. I thought they were all very, very good.
I disagree.
Really?
I liked the first.
Well, you're wrong.
I thought you'd say that. No, I loved the first. The first had that real much more serious tone, but it had the very Uncharted style that made me fall in love with the Uncharted games. And then the second one, I just got to a point and I thought, I don't know why I'm playing this because I'm just not enjoying it. And I never played the third. I probably should play the third.
The third one's good, yeah. Well, again, I felt they were all fun. Every successive one was just sort of more of the same of what went before, but I loved what went before. So, but I think 3 was fine. It was a good number. I think if they tried to repeat the same formula again, it might begin to feel a little bit tired. So if they were going to drop a new Tomb Raider, I'd maybe like to see something a bit new from them, something slightly more creative than just...
There was a reference to the idea of merging the two Tomb Raider timelines, so the original Lara Croft and then the new remake Lara Croft. And I think the last thing that I heard was, how can they take both the fans of those franchises and push them together and make a game that would satisfy everyone? Big task. But potentially, if they're thinking about it, there might be a little flavour or some sort of behind the scenes. They seem to like these behind the scenes, we're working on this stuff, don't they?
What do you think fans of the original series didn't get from the remake?
Breasts.
Giant
breasts.
Giant novelty huge boobs.
I think that the original Tomb Raider had probably a bit more charm.
Some of the most famous breasts in gaming.
Well, those pixel breasts were very pixelated. Oh no, they weren't, were they? They were very non-pixelated. But they were, I don't know. I think the games
polygonal,
polygonal breasts.
Polygonal. They were pointy.
They were definitely pointy. But I think that the tone in those games, you had dinosaurs, you had, all kinds of weird, quirky little Britishisms. Lara was very British, very in the of aristocracy and with this tomb raiding edge. But I just think that she was a much more confident and interesting character. And it's nice to see, this is the trilogy where she becomes Lara Croft.
Yeah.
And you get that straight out of, university, I guess.
Would you like to see them take sort of story elements from the earlier games and redo them in the style of the newer games?
It could be done. I don't know. I think if you're going to do it, you would remake it as true to the originals as possible. If you wanted to just remake, I think there is a path, surely, that you can take maybe a reference to the original or the remake trilogy, but with the older Lara, and merge the two together that way with the same tone as the originals, but with maybe story influences from the new trilogy. But I don't know. I think it's a tough one. But no, sticking with Square Enix, you're more of a Final Fantasy fan than I am. I have played the original Final Fantasy VII. I played it last year in lockdown. I liked it. I've been keeping an eye on the remake. Do you think we will get anything about it coming to Xbox?
We may. I don't know. Final Fantasy VII is the bane of my life. I've tried playing it so many times. I first got a copy on the PC when I was at university, and then I got to a section where I was in some kind of submarine, and the background wouldn't load, and that it broke my game, and I had to start again, and I was maybe 40 hours into the gameplay, and then I borrowed a friend's PlayStation to play it on the PlayStation, and didn't get quite that far before the console broke down and had to be sent away, and then I never got the console back again. And then most recently I downloaded it on my mobile phone and invested some significant time into it again, and got stuck at a bit where you're supposed to breed a golden chocobo.
Oh, yes.
And no matter how many times I follow the online guides telling me how it's supposed to be done, I still can't get that sodding chocobo to come out gold. So I had been looking forward to the Final Fantasy VII remake, thinking I will just draw a line under the original, start on the remake, and then it was a PlayStation exclusive, and I only have an Xbox. So now I've basically just given up and gone, okay, Final Fantasy VII is never going to be played by me in any format ever, to the point of conclusion.
So if it's announced, you would probably cry, but there might be some joy there.
No, I'd probably get it, and then my console would probably break, and the game would crash, and it'd be riddled with bugs after sinking hours and hours into it. But...
Probably. Yeah. Final Fantasy, it's something that I played 7 because I think you should play 7. If you're of a certain age, I've known of it most of my gaming life. I just never played it, so I thought, you know what? I've got nothing else to do. Let's just play it.
I think I was in my mid-teens when that game first came out on the first PlayStation.
Well, I was
and I'd
considerably
never
younger.
seen. Well, you would be. I'd never seen a game of that scale before. I'd just never seen a game that would span tens of hours of gameplay that went across multiple different discs on a console, that had so many different play styles involved in it, involved such close management of the characters. I'd never played a top-down RPG before, and
it was phenomenal for what it did at the time. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely incredible, groundbreaking game. And as I said, I've always had a soft spot for it. I always wanted to go back to it and get through to the end, but fate keeps intervening.
One day.
Fate and technical faults.
I actually think the remake of the original is on Game Pass.
Oh.
So if you want to think
no.
We'll move on.
Go down that road again.
We'll move on from the scars of Final Fantasy VII then. This one's a little bit more for me. I do like Destiny 2. I've fallen far out of love with it in the last sort of 18 months. But with Bungie being an independent studio now, and the last big expansion for Destiny 2, Dying Light, going straight onto Game Pass at release last November, do you think there could be some sort of partnership to push the next big update for Destiny 2 onto Game Pass, and with crossplay apparently coming to the game at some point in the next season, I believe, and the drive with Xbox to try and get everything cross-gen, cross-play, and talking to each other, do you think there could be some sort of unofficial deal to help them produce future content for Destiny 2?
Yes. Yeah, there could well be. Destiny, again, is one of those games that lost me with its sort of manipulative salesmanship. I was very excited by the original Destiny, bought the limited edition game, which came with the first 2 DLC packs included, I think. Of course, anyone who remembers will realise that the first 2 DLC packs were absolutely awful and came with next to nothing. And then the third one
there was
that
a
came
good
out,
raid in there.
Okay, I never got to play the raids because I couldn't find 6 people who owned the games.
Fair enough.
So, yeah, that extra money that I paid was basically worth nothing. And then when they did release a piece of DLC that looked like it was worth having, they wanted to charge an extra 50 quid for it. And I basically stopped playing Destiny at that point. Started again with Destiny 2, enjoyed it a lot, but wasn't going to keep dropping money for every bit of DLC. Especially when essentially all it does is asks you to keep playing the same stuff over and over again.
Yeah.
You play through the core game, that's fine, I enjoyed that. Both games I've enjoyed playing the storyline to the end. And then you get to the end and it's just like, okay, now play it again. Now go back and play this bit again. Play this again. Play it again. Play it again. We'll give you some new shoes. Play it again. Now your coat's red. Play it again.
If you want a half an hour to just go and shoot some stuff,
yeah,
it's great.
And we've had loads of fun
right.
on it over the years, haven't we?
Yeah,
playing through with a friend is still very enjoyable.
Well, it's a great co-op game.
But I feel like if you're not prepared to keep up with the DLC, you soon find yourself just drifting around in this world where it feels very pointless even bothering.
Yes.
And if you are on top of the DLC, then they've basically got you by the short and curlies, haven't they? Because you just have to keep paying up time and again.
I don't think it's that with Apex Legends. They have the seasons and the new characters, but I still get the feeling that the original characters work because it's all about playing and your playstyle and the weapons that you use. It's much more skill-based.
I never got on board with Apex Legends.
No, you didn't, did you?
I just kept on dying before I could get the hang of it.
But speaking of Apex, let's move on to EA. Now, they've had a pretty good run recently with Apex Legends a couple of years ago. Jedi Fallen Order was a big hit for them as well. And the recently released Mass Effect Legendary Edition has that real nostalgia hit for original fans and new fans wanting to experience something a little bit different. Now, I did write this before we got yesterday's reveal of Battlefield 6. So let's just start with Battlefield 6. Have you seen the reveal and what did you think of it?
I have. I thought it looked absolutely mad. Wingsuits and tornadoes. What does that remind you of?
I got a very big Just Cause 4 vibe.
Yeah, exactly.
From playing it at yours recently.
Which is not a bad thing, I think. I think, Just Cause 4, the fun comes from the sheer over-the-top action of it. And if they introduce a bit of that in Battlefield 6, then all the better for it. They've always been very good at their destructible environments, and I think we saw the weather impacting that in the Battlefield trailer, didn't we? With the tornado tearing through a city and ripping it to pieces, and vehicles flying around. I think the parachutes and the wingsuits will give you added mobility and verticality, so you'll be able to get up and down the level more easily than just taking
stairs. Did you ever play Battlefield 4?
Yes, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be that, but it's going to be...
That was sort of the Modern Warfare one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that kind of vibe, just crazier with prettier graphics.
Yes, yeah. I think they're just going to dial the action up to 11 and hope that not taking itself too seriously allows people to enjoy the fun side of it and not miss the sort of the grounded reality of Battlefield 4 and Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Yeah, it does surprise me that the game doesn't have a single player mode. So it is multiplayer only.
Oh, really?
But
okay.
it doesn't
have
a battle royale. Well, the trailer to me was just multiplayer.
Right.
But there was an article that came out just after the trailer that said no single player and no battle royale. But surely that screams battle royale. Something big, destructible, something as... the destruction side in a battle royale could be really interesting if you could pull that off.
But how annoyed would you be if you were down to like the last 20 people in a battle royale and all of a sudden a tornado appeared behind you and just flung you out of the play area?
Yeah, but maybe not weather effects, but like the building destruction. So you are camping in a building and somebody just pops a rocket right through, blows it up, and you're crushed by falling debris.
Yeah,
that kind of thing
nowhere to hide.
Yeah, but that kind of thing would add more sort of awareness to the game.
Yeah,
it's not just skill. There is a little bit of luck in there as well. I think that if it's possible, and power of the cloud, who knows what's possible. But I think that could actually be quite fun as a battle royale.
It could. I mean, I've always been reluctant to go down the route of multiplayer-only games. I find that they're fun for a couple of days, but they don't really justify the cost of them. Yeah. But again, I think we've already established I'm kind of into the games for the narrative and the story, which is why I sort of don't get on so well with persistent online universes, because I think you should be able to affect the environment in a game, whereas any game where you have to leave the environment fully intact as it was when you started because other people have to play it as well, I think that loses some of the impact of playing the game.
But you've always liked an element of ownership, haven't you?
Yeah.
With Battlefield 6 covered, we do know that Jedi Fallen Order 2 is into development with Respawn. Now,
okay, so now you might be able to play as an actual Jedi.
Well, maybe. Now, I was quite harsh with my review of Fallen Order, but you played it before me. What were your thoughts on it?
I didn't mind it. My big problem with it is it sort of falls into the same trap as a lot of Star Wars games, in that they sell you on the idea of becoming a Jedi and wielding Force powers and fighting with a lightsaber, and then you spend the entire game getting to that point where you feel like you've got powerful Jedi Force powers and a good level of lightsaber skill, and then the game ends. You usually have one boss battle at the end where you get to fight your powers, at which point they don't feel powerful anymore because the person you're fighting is usually a lot more powerful.
Or just Darth Vader.
Yeah, I think that the one Star Wars game that did it really well was the... now, what was it called? The one where you played as like Darth Vader's apprentice.
Force Unleashed.
Force Unleashed, where you could just walk through a room full of people, pick them up, chuck them off a ledge. Brilliant. That's exactly what you want to be able to do as a Jedi.
It was an amazing tech demo of how to use the Force in a video game, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. And before that, the last time I think there was a good Jedi game was probably Dark Forces 2, Jedi Knight.
Would you not count Knights of the Old Republic?
No. Controversial?
Well, no, I don't think so, because you do spend a chunk of the game not as a Jedi. And also, it isn't that action, but it's turn-based, so it's a very different style.
You feel like you're sort of... It's like Jedi Manager rather than playing as a Jedi, isn't it? Because you're sort of sat there behind the screen saying, right, you, hit him with your lightsaber. You're not actually in the
It's
game,
strategy
controlling the
over
movement.
action.
Yeah. So that was a good game. I'm being a bit flippant. I did enjoy Knights of the Old Republic, but I think when you get given a lightsaber, you want that visceral feeling of being able to spin it round, cut it through people. Yeah. And I think just as it was beginning to show promise, it ends. So I think Fallen Order 2, as long as it doesn't use this trope where somehow you've lost all of your powers between the end of the first game and the start of the second one, and you have to spend the whole game rebuilding your skill set again. If it starts where the first one left off and you're actually a relatively capable Jedi and just sort of ups the enemy count and makes it a bit more challenging that way, I think we could be onto something with Fallen Order 2.
Like you say, I want to play a Star Wars game that gives you a lightsaber, gives you force powers, and just cut people up and throw them off cliffs, and not worry about.
So you're on the dark side then,
so
just
basically, just on the dark side. But I don't want to go to a little meditation spot and heal, and then all the enemies come back. That doesn't interest me. Give me a linear campaign. The Amy Hennig game from many, many years ago, Star Wars. Well, this might not have been Amy Hennig actually. But 1313 was the bounty hunter thing.
Oh yeah, that never got made, did it?
Never got made. It got canned by Lucasfilm before Disney bought them.
Right.
We're going quite a way back. But the idea of that, you were a bounty hunter's apprentice or part of a bounty hunter's crew, and you got ambushed at the start of the game, and you had to fight your way through Coruscant, through all the gangs and the bounty hunters, and whatever else you were meant to do. Give me that. Story focused. It's story first. It's characters first. And you can hit people real hard with a lightsaber.
Again, it was sounding a little bit like you start off as an apprentice, you don't have any skills, you gotta fight through the game to build your skills up, and then, great, you're a fully trained Jedi. Game over. Yeah,
maybe we get the Star Wars Jedi Master Fallen Order 2. Let's go with that.
Nice.
But I don't know. I don't have any interest in this, but that's probably just because of my feelings for the wider state of Star Wars. I hope there's some footage, I hope it looks good, and I hope that it does enough to interest me. Something that does interest me is Mass Effect 5.
5 or 4?
It's 5. Andromeda's 4.
Really?
They're all in the same universe. Andromeda's 4.
Ah, you see, that makes me look forward to it less. If it was Mass Effect 4 as a direct sequel to 3, picking up with my character where he left off, still alive after the end of the game, then I would be all in. I really desperately want to know how my character's story ended, and I don't think I got that from Mass Effect 3. And I did try playing Andromeda, but didn't really get into it.
I actually enjoyed Andromeda.
Okay, worth persisting with.
Is it worth persisting with? I don't know. For now, yes, because some of the worlds do look amazing, and the jump packing things and the movement and the combat is quite fun.
Okay.
I just hated the characters.
Right, okay.
But the timeline of it all wouldn't fit to bring any other elements of Andromeda apart from maybe a few little nods and references. So you can easily incorporate what you can of Andromeda.
Yeah.
Which takes place 600 years after the events of Mass Effect 3. In a totally different galaxy. So in the Mass Effect 5 trailer, we clearly see Liara at the end. Liara isn't going to be in the Andromeda galaxy.
She was already over 100 years old in Mass Effect 3, though.
Yeah, she was looking a bit older, which is what makes me think there's a time jump somewhere.
I mean, I wasn't body shaming Liara to Sony.
No, it might just be the new graphics. Who knows? But she did look a little older in the eyes. But I think there's a time jump here. My big worry with it is, first we've got to get through Dragon Age 4, which we'll talk about in a moment.
Okay.
But do we think BioWare is a company capable of making a sequel to the Mass Effect trilogy at this point in time? With the ending of Mass Effect 3, with Dragon Age 3, which a lot of people praised, it didn't grab me, with Anthem, with... there was something else, wasn't there, that was canned? That they did that failed. Andromeda.
Andromeda?
You know, Andromeda came out and it was terrible, and they killed all the DLC for it because it didn't sell well.
Right,
so in the last 10 years or 9 years, since the ending of Mass Effect 3, in my mind, BioWare haven't made a good game.
Yeah, that doesn't leave them in a great position, does it?
It doesn't.
I think the main problem with Mass Effect 3 was it had an ending, whereas it should have had several endings. But there's no possible way you can offer people a game with all the branching story arcs that they got to choose along the way, and then give everyone the same ending. I mean, the only reason you would do that
built
is
on
if
choice takes away choice at the end, and I can kind of see why they went that route, but it didn't work.
Well, the only reason you would go down that route is either, well, there's three reasons, right? A, you're lazy. B, you've run out of time to finish your game. Or C, you want every single player in the same place for the beginning of the next game that follows on for it. Now, I don't think that C was the actual plan with Mass Effect 3.
No.
I think they probably wanted to wrap it up quite definitively, and the cheapest and quickest way of doing it and delivering the game on time was to give everyone the same ending.
I think part of it is EA wanted a hit for that year, so they rushed it out. Because right. Mass Effect 2 took 3 years in development, 3 took 2 years in development. And yes, it was the same engine with tweaks, and a lot of 3 feels really good. The combat still feels great, and it's a big step up from 2, which is the best in the series.
Mass Effect 3 gave me a feeling that I've only ever had once before, and that was that the ending of it was so bad that it made me regret playing any of them. And the only time I've had that feeling was when I watched the third Matrix movie, where I'd really enjoyed the first Matrix movie, I really enjoyed the second one, and then I saw the end of the third one and thought, I should never have bothered with this series.
Are you saying Matrix 3, Revelations, wasn't it? Matrix Revelations.
Yes.
Is worse than the ending of Mass Effect 3?
On a par in terms of both awful.
Wow. I don't have many, but I have more fond memories of Revelations than Mass Effect 3's ending, to be honest. Mm-hmm. I got really burned by that ending, which leads us nicely into Dragon Age 4. As I said, I didn't get on with Inquisition. I loved Origins. The second one tried to do something different, and I admire them trying, and I liked the characters enough to stick with it. But 3 went that big open world, let's throw you in this place, and it lost a little bit of the charm for me. With Dragon Age 4, it was announced in 2017. It was, I think, 2 years ago or so, they completely threw everything out and changed direction with it. But now in 2021, we've heard very little. Do you think that there is an integral problem with BioWare here? Because we're going to get footage for Dragon Age 4, be it on the Xbox conference or be it on the E3, the EA conference. But it sounds to me, with the very little rumours and bits of news that we've had, that they don't know what they're doing with the narrative, which is a big red flag for any game moving forward from such a storied, single-player studio.
Yeah, if you've lost the thread of the central narrative, you're going to end up with what's essentially a bundled up series of side missions, aren't you, that are clumsily thrown into a story just to get something out for launch.
Yeah.
It does, I don't know, the more you talk about it, Tom, the more it does seem like BioWare are maybe losing their way in terms of the ability to make a cohesive gaming experience.
It's quite sad, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is, because as you say, Mass Effect 2 was not only the best in the series, but it was like a gaming high point. It was absolutely superb. But then Mass Effect 3 was a solid game experience until the end.
There's elements in 3 that do feel quite lazy, but most of it works really well. It's a good step up from 2 until the end.
I really enjoyed 3. I really enjoyed playing the whole game. But as I say, you get to the end of it and it feels like, they might as well have just sent a BioWare executive around to your house to spit in your face. It's that level of sort of disservice.
Oh no, EA wouldn't pay those kind of air miles. Now, I have picked up the Legendary Edition, and I am playing through it on the channel. Haven't played it recently. I need to take a break after playing the original trilogy on stream just before it came out. But we are coming back to it. You didn't pick up the Legendary Edition?
No.
Do you have any plans to revisit it?
No. If they did a Mass Effect that was either a completely new thing in the same universe and went its own way and looked compelling, I would go for that. I'm not sort of completely switched off the series. If they did a Mass Effect that followed on with my character from the end of 3 and allowed us to have a proper continuation of that story, I would hand over the money tomorrow.
Would you replay the Legendary Edition to get the save right?
No, I just don't think I have the time to invest in it. I've got a wife now, Tom. I've got children. I can't sit there and spend 120 hours just to get the exact choices that I want.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I would abandon the wife and children to get the exact choices I wanted if I was given that choice.
Sure, okay.
But,
well,
you know,
I'll do
Liara
that. You
to
ring
Sony.
social services and we'll regroup tomorrow.
Sure, let's do that. So, we've covered most of EA. We do have Respawn. We've touched on Fallen Order 2. One of the things that I've wanted since playing Titanfall 2 is Titanfall 3. We've heard nothing. We're not expecting it. I'm not expecting an announcement, to be honest. But do you think there's a chance? And have you played Titanfall 2 yet?
I knew you were going to ask me that. Honest answer, yes. I have played Titanfall 2, but only the very beginning. And I will go back to it. I did stop. I think that was what I was playing when Cyberpunk came out. And yeah, I think there's a pattern emerging here of me not finishing games, isn't it? It's worrying.
Yeah, the wife and kids, and Grey's Anatomy.
The wife and kids and all 16 series of Grey's Anatomy, yeah. No, I did enjoy Titanfall 1. I thought that was one of the more fun multiplayer games I've ever played, but again, didn't
That was multiplayer only as well, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, but that's again why I stopped playing it. Just sort of lost interest in the repetitive nature of a multiplayer only game. I started playing Titanfall 2. It did engage me. I think it was very good. I just got to the point where something new and shiny came out, and I thought, I'll go back to this when I've finished Cyberpunk. And then I didn't finish Cyberpunk.
I really hope that you do, because it is one of the best campaigns I think I've ever played. Okay. Certainly in the last 10 years. It's a really rewarding single player. And it breaks my heart that they then went on to do Fallen Order. Because I just want Titanfall 3. Apex is fine for a quick fix. But I want to know what happens next.
Didn't they include a character in Apex that was meant to be the child of a pilot?
I think the new character.
Okay.
Which I've not checked out yet.
You should give that a go. That sounds up your street.
Yeah, but you got to pay for the character. So I'm going to need to want to play it. I don't know. I do need to get back into Apex. I'm just holding out for, something new.
Was Titanfall 2 a commercial success?
It wasn't, but there's a very good reason why it wasn't. Because EA decided to launch it between Call of Duty, whichever one that year, and one of the Battlefields, I think.
Oh, okay.
So you had Call of Duty, and then a week later, then Titanfall, then Battlefield. Okay. So it just lost out on so much. It did well for the release that it got, but it wasn't well pushed. And
they put a lot of money into marketing Titanfall. I remember it was.
Yeah, they did. That was Xbox exclusive, though, wasn't it? That was one of the big Xbox One. I think it was March after launch.
Right.
But they did so much with it for the original Titanfall, and then Titanfall 2 is available on everything. It's had a big resurgence since Apex, which is really good because it's well worth playing.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to it. It's definitely still on the list.
It just feels so tight. You can tell that the people behind Call of Duty Modern Warfare made it. It's got that, just the tightness and the extreme fun to play.
Yeah.
You should go back to it, definitely.
I will.
But moving on, let's get through the 23 studios now under the Xbox Studios banner.
It's a lot of studios.
They have spent some big money. So let's focus on the first party stuff. And we'll start with everything that was part of the Bethesda acquisition. We're going to split this up a little bit. So let's start with Arcane Studios. They are about to release Deathloop. This looks like a hell of a lot of fun, wonderful sort of graphic cel-shaded kind of assassin-y game. But it currently will be a PlayStation 5 console exclusive and won't be coming to Xbox for roughly 12 months, I believe. So do you think we will see anything of that on the Xbox conference, with it being a Bethesda published game, and it will make Microsoft money wherever it lands?
I'm not sure we'll see Microsoft pushing it, to be honest, if it's got an exclusivity with PS5 for the next year. I think they'll probably keep quiet about it and then maybe make more of a push on it next year if it's coming to Xbox after a year. But Arcane, they were the studios behind Dishonored, right?
They were, yes.
And looking at the trailer for Deathloop, which is a very enjoyable trailer, so stylized as well. It's got that sort of 1960s, almost Bond-esque feel to it, doesn't it?
Wonderful soundtrack as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's an original track for Deathloop, like a Bond-style Deathloop theme in the trailer. It's very much worth checking out if you haven't seen it already. But yeah, I thought it looked a lot of fun. My only sort of hesitation with it is I understand the concept of the game is that you have to go through the same day that loops over and over again and assassinate 8 people before that day comes to an end. And if you don't do it in the right order, you run out of time and the game resets, and essentially you wake up in the same place you started the game and have to start the whole thing again.
But you have the knowledge of the last playthrough.
But you have the knowledge of the last playthrough. So it just sounds to me that by the time you've potentially got round to your 8th attempt at killing these people, trying out in different orders, it might be beginning to feel a little bit repetitive by then. But, from what I've seen so far, it looks very cool. And it's an interesting concept. I'm certainly looking forward to seeing a bit more of it. I just hope that it doesn't turn out to be really boring.
I think, yeah, a game like that and the idea that they're pushing where you're replaying, you're learning from your mistakes, it lives and dies on the gameplay.
Sure.
If the gameplay is engaging and a lot of fun, it doesn't matter if you're doing the same thing over and over again because you're having fun doing it.
Sure, but they have the first person perspective that they had in Dishonored. They have what appears to be the use of lots of funky powers that they had in Dishonored,
Yes,
and Dishonored was a lot of fun in the gameplay section. So I'm not too worried about it. I think it'll do quite well. I think people should give that one a good chance.
I think it's coming out on PC at launch with PS5 as well. So at least that side, it might be on Game Pass Ultimate or Game Pass PC. So there could be an angle there in which they show something, but quite frankly, they've got so much to show. We think that you could be right; it might not be there, and it will just appear on the Sony conference or whatever Sony
I think
do.
Sony will definitely
down the line.
push it. It looks like they've put a very polished trailer together, and you wouldn't do that unless you were trying to draw some attention to it. I think Microsoft, as you say, will not really mention it if it's not available on their console. I could be wrong.
But there are probably enough fans of Dishonored and Dishonored 2 that I think this will be a success as and when it does launch. Now, another studio that has a Sony exclusive with Ghostwire Tokyo is Tango Gameworks. This isn't a studio I'm familiar with. They did do the Evil Within, I think 1 and 2. I think there's only been 2. Not games that I've played, but Ghostwire Tokyo is a 12-month exclusivity deal for PlayStation console. I believe it will be out on PC when it does originally launch. I know you've seen the trailer because you watched it about half an hour ago.
Yes, I did.
What did you think, and do you think that, again, with the same idea as Deathloop being exclusive, will we see anything?
I think it looks like a bit more of an action-packed and entertaining version of Cyberpunk, to be honest. It has that sort of feel to it. Obviously, the Japanese influence with it being set in future Tokyo.
Yeah.
And it looks like a lot of fun making ghostly little girls drop their yellow umbrellas.
I mean, as far as selling points go, you slap them in the box, can't you?
I've never played a game in which I could make a ghostly little girl drop a yellow umbrella.
There we go. So that could be something that you'll be playing in 12 months' time.
Yeah, well, if it remains a PS5 exclusive, then I may go my entire life without ever making a ghostly little girl drop her yellow umbrella, which
hopefully that will be remedied.
Absolutely tragic.
So let's move on then to more Xbox-focused things. And we did have the recently announced Indiana Jones game from Machinegames. We know that this is Machinegames and Todd Howard. Do you, being an Indiana Jones fan, think that this could be a pretty good and exciting release? And do you think it could be an Xbox console exclusive when it does?
Ooh. Well, I'm tentatively excited about the Indiana Jones game.
Okay.
I'm a little reserved mainly because games and films often have trouble interacting. Previous games of film licenses haven't been up to much good.
True.
With the odd exception, I mean, like Spider-Man 2 on the original Xbox was bizarrely superb. But Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 3 were bad.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
The Batman Arkham games have been amazing, but they've not linked directly to a movie.
Is that really a movie, though? Yeah.
That's it. It's sort of a extrapolation of the comic book legendary background, isn't it? It's not really a spin-off of a film. That said, it's an original game. The trailer didn't give a lot away in terms of gameplay. It dropped some hints about settings and timings. It was done in a sort of cartoon style, right? That trailer.
Yeah,
so potentially not representative of in-game graphics.
It didn't look as polished as maybe you'd think a almost real Indiana Jones game could look.
Yeah, I mean,
but surely it's just a concept at this point.
I think with the Indiana Jones game, I'm excited that someone's having a go at it. I'm going to reserve judgment about it until I see a bit more about what the game actually is, the style it comes across as, and how it plays. Maybe see a bit of in-game footage or even a proper rendered trailer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm certainly excited that someone's having a go at it. Indiana Jones is one of my all-time favourite cinematic characters. So great to see someone having a go at making a decent game.
Definitely. And Machinegames do have a history with Nazis in Wolfenstein. So they clearly understand, and alright, it's their take on the West lost Second World War II series of games. But Wolfenstein and Wolfenstein 2, the re-releases, the remakes, were excellent. Really enjoyed those games. So I think that this potentially is in very good hands. It could be a very polished product when we do see it. And I think with this being a Disney property all in all, or a Lucasfilm, LucasArts property, there's no way that this will be an exclusive, personally.
I think you're right. I think the money there is to be made cross-platform. We could be wrong. It could be... You say Machinegames are a subsidiary of Bethesda, are they? Or one of Microsoft's?
They're one of Bethesda's, yeah.
Right. That might wrap them into making an Xbox exclusive. But I actually think that Microsoft haven't been too stingy with keeping games to themselves. I think they appreciate that it's the player that loses out when companies do that. Yeah. So I would hope to see them trying to set an example about making games cross-platform. They
definitely have that mentality of Xbox is a platform for everyone, but we want everyone to experience our games in some way.
Yeah, I think it's a noble attitude, and one that I agree with, and I sort of applaud them for taking that line, much more than sort of Sony for locking down everything to try and sell consoles. But that being said, Sony are probably going to make more money.
And as Sony currently recording, Sony are the market leaders, even, what are we, 6-7 months into the new generation. So, only time will tell. We'll see. And I think that this E3 will have to be strong from Microsoft to try and get some attention on the Series X and the Series S. But it's a Game Pass driver.
Xbox really need some standout games. Just they need to show something off that's coming to them, that plays best with them, and is really going to get people talking, because they don't have Spider-Man, they don't have The Last of Us, they don't have Uncharted, they don't have these big name exclusives that Sony has.
Well, God of War and Horizon.
God of War, of course.
Huge desire to play those games. So, yeah, you're right. They need to show what they have first party that makes them stand out.
I think so.
Which nicely leads us into id Software, again part of the Bethesda acquisition, famous for Doom and Quake, and coming off the back of Doom Eternal and the recently released DLC. Do you think we'll see anything, and might we be getting a return of Quake?
Do you think that a lot of people are aware of Doom and Quake in a non-retro context?
Because
Doom appeals to...
They remade Doom, and Doom Eternal did well. Very well.
Yeah, but did it do well amongst everyone, or did it do well amongst the people who grew up playing Doom on their early PCs?
It was well received, I think, yeah.
And Quake, I haven't heard a lot from Quake in a long time, but my recollection is that sort of the games never really flowed together in any meaningful way. They were more sort of they were more like field tests of game engines.
Yeah.
So Quake 1 was an interesting sort of medieval style game, but it was the first sort of full-on 3D game, as opposed to sort of having 2D sprites that would sort of bend around when you turned corners. And then Quake 2 was set in space. Quake 2 was a lot of fun, I remember that. And then Quake 4 was a battle arena game. It was sort of the first time...
Yes, that was 360 generation, wasn't it? Very early into 360,
I was still playing PC games at the time, and my PC couldn't run that one when that came out, because it was all these fancy new lighting effects that had never been seen before. But again, the Quake series just comes across as a series of proof of concepts rather than like a cohesive game series.
I think that's fair.
So unless it have come up with some incredible new software that they want to show off that makes games look brilliant, in which case they might do a A new Quake?
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, the id Tech engine does seem ridiculous. Doom Eternal looked stunning. So, yeah, I mean, I
just don't think they need to do it now, though. They don't need to...
No, I think you're right.
They can probably just get away with beta testing a full game like Doom Eternal.
Yeah, I think you're right. So let's move on to the big boy in the room then. So Bethesda. You're not a huge fan of Bethesda games.
That's
I know
true.
this. But I don't think anybody could deny that Fallout 3 and Skyrim were some of the standouts of 2 generations ago, and the effects of them are still being felt in the industry today. Certainly with Skyrim being available on everything.
I'd like to deny
that. Well, you can't. This is one point that you cannot deny. So, we know that Elder Scrolls 6 is being worked on. We know there's so many new expansions, almost every 6 months for Elder Scrolls Online, which there will clearly be a showing it. I know it's a different studio, it's ZeniMax, I think Media Online, I think they're called. But it falls under the same Bethesda banner. So, knowing we're going to get some Elder Scrolls Online in some way, be it the new DLC that's just come out or teasing something for the future, will we see anything from Elder Scrolls 6? Or do you think this could be the big Starfield gameplay reveal?
I would love to see some more on Starfield because, as you say, I'm not a historical fan of Fallout or Skyrim or Oblivion or Fallout 4.
I'm not a fan of Fallout 4, to be honest.
I've tried them all and I just find myself getting to a point where I just think this is just not as fun as the time and investment demands. But Starfield, I've always felt like we need a really, really good space exploration game, and there's been some that have come close. Mass Effect, as we discussed, have been excellent, but I think a really good space exploration game shouldn't be as on rails as Mass Effect has been.
You've played some No Man's Sky as well?
No Man's Sky is great, but that sort of goes a bit too far the other way. It's sort of massive open exploration, just no real story to it, just walking around fixing things and gathering resources. So somewhere in the middle is the happy ground, and the trailers for Starfield don't give a lot away, but they look lovely. They paint the beginnings of a compelling picture, so I'm hoping we'll see a bit more about Starfield, but I think it has been sort of conspicuously elusive in recent times. But you're overlooking Fallout. What do you think about a new Fallout game?
I think there'll be something for Fallout 76.
Okay.
And I don't... And we don't know if Elder Scrolls 6 is still in development, and we believe it is, and it usually goes Fallout, Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Elder Scrolls. I don't think that there will be a Fallout 5, let's say, announced. Certainly not when they have potentially Elder Scrolls, but definitely Starfield on the horizon.
Yeah.
I think the big push is Starfield, and because it isn't connected to either Fallout or Elder Scrolls, I think Starfield will be an Xbox console exclusive.
It could be. Do you think it will come through Game Pass?
It will be Game Pass day one regardless. Everything Bethesda will be from now on, unless it's got a Sony exclusivity.
And do you think we're talking single player RPG, or do you think we're playing multiplayer shared universe?
Single player. Bethesda is surely going back to the single player.
Well, I guess we can see, can't we?
It's what, with this being sort of the main Bethesda studio, it's what they do best. I think it would be odd with them doing it. Well, I would argue, of the things that they have made,
it's what they're famous
single player is certainly their forte.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think we will see some Starfield. I don't think we'll see much, and I don't think we'll get a date. But I think there will be a tease in there. I think there has to be at this point. But let's stick with that classic single-player RPG angle. An Obsidian acquired, I believe, 2019. They've got a few things on the go. With the Outer Worlds, it came out a couple of years ago. There was some new DLC that came out. I believe now publishing rights has moved entirely to Microsoft, so there could be a sequel in the works there. They did do Grounded last year. That's still, on Game Pass. I think that was well received, even though it did have a few issues. And then last year we did get the announcement trailer for Avowed. Do you think we could see anything from any of these properties?
I'd like to see more of Avowed. As you say, we got that trailer. It looks very pretty. It gives away, at the end of the trailer, what looks to be a sneak of some actual gameplay. And it was just compelling enough to get me interested. Again, it's one of my games on the to-watch list. I'd be very keen to see a bit more of that and give it a go.
Yeah, I'm in the same camp. I mean, I enjoy half of what Obsidian do. Personally, I would love to get another Alpha Protocol, either a remake or a sequel or something. The game was a buggy mess, but I just absolutely loved it. So if they came out and said, all we've got for you, Alpha Protocol, I'm sold.
I never played Alpha Protocol.
You'd love it.
What was it? Talk me through it.
The standard single-player RPG, Mass Effect-style conversations.
Oh, okay.
But you were a spy who enacted Alpha Protocol, having been left behind enemy lines or something, and you were trying to stop a bad guy while everybody else was after you.
Oh, that sounds quite cool.
It was brilliant, and you can get it on Steam, but I think it was pulled from the other stores for some sort of rights issue. Or there was music in there that they lost the license to, and there was a problem there. It was so much fun. It was problematic in places, but it was a great game, and you were hopping all over the globe.
So there we go, Obsidian. A specific request from Tom for Beta Protocol.
Yes, I want Beta Protocol, and I won it last year. So thank you very much. Now, with the new consoles, 7 months in now, I think it's safe to assume that we'll get something from Forza Motorsport 8 by 10/10 this year. It seems like a good way to show off what the Series X can actually do.
Yeah, I mean, Horizon 4 was the last one. And
yeah,
that's
different
been
studio.
Given a polish for the Series X.
Yep.
And it looks superb. I've preferred the Horizon series, the open world racing format I find to be more fun. But I'm generally not a fan of racing games, so it probably does appeal to me more than the sort of circuit racing of the numbered series.
But with it launching on Game Pass, definitely worth a go to see how pretty it is.
Definitely, yeah, even just as a demo of the console's power and the graphical ability, worth downloading and giving a try.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't think we've heard much, but I think that is the next Forza game, and I think that we will get something probably for a launch in the next 6 months. I feel personally. But you mentioned Horizon 4, that was Playground, the UK side. We know that they're working on Fable. This was again announced last year. Probably one of the worst kept secrets in gaming at the time. And with it being confirmed with a very cinematic, very pretty trailer, but it wasn't gameplay footage. Could we get gameplay footage?
I would hope so, but you hear Fable and you think games that either get delayed or don't happen.
I would disagree. Delayed maybe, but they all did happen. They just didn't deliver on what they promised.
Fair enough. What was that one that they were going to make for the Kinect?
Oh no, that didn't happen. That's right. Yeah, but there's probably a good reason why that didn't happen.
Yeah, the Kinect didn't really happen, did it?
No. I love Fable. The first Fable is one of my favourite games of all time, and I would love to get back in a reboot or whatever they want to do with it.
Oh, you long to fill the boots of Chicken Kicker.
I love kicking chickens. There was something so special about kicking a chicken, and just the villagers laughing as you did it and calling you silly names in a very British way. I loved it. I had so much fun with that game, and I think with the way that idea and the morality in games has moved and shifted over the years, now is a really good time to revisit something like that and put a modern polish on it.
Yeah, I think it can't hurt. My recollection of Fable was it felt quite silly for a lot of the game, and for an RPG which demands quite a significant time commitment, it's a lot of time feeling like you're just being silly.
I think you went into it wrong.
Probably.
You should have gone into it saying, this is a Monty Python game.
Yes, maybe. Was John Cleese one of the voices in it? Am I remembering that right?
I think he was at some point, yeah.
He showed up in... do you remember Jade Empire? That was
back in the BioWare days, the good old days, yeah.
I'm sure John Cleese was a voice in that once as
Nathan Fillion was in that as well.
No way. Ah.
And that was the first, I think one of the first video games he was in, yeah. So, moving on to Ninja Theory. This is a studio that I don't know much about, and I still need to play Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice. But the footage we got of Hellblade 2 at the Series X reveal so many months ago now looked incredible. we must be getting close to getting more details for Hellblade 2, surely.
I think so. I mean, again, it's concerning, isn't it, when someone puts out a trailer that isn't representative of built in-game footage, and then they go very quiet for a long time? Because it just makes you wonder how linked that original concept footage is to the final product.
Yeah.
But, as you say, it's been long enough time that the game's probably been in development, and they might have something ready to show off, so look forward to you reporting back on that.
Yeah, hopefully there'll be something. They're also working on what I think is codenamed Project Mara, which, and I'll quote this from the tweet with the pictures on, a real-world and grounded representation of true mental terror.
Oh, so that's something to look forward to.
Yeah, there goes your Resident Evil 7 post-breakdown. Yeah, I think the images that they showed, they had, I think it was like a sink in a bathroom, and they had a picture that they had taken of the actual sink in the real house that they had taken these pictures in, and then the one that they had made up in the engine.
And it was, what, photoreal?
It was, the one made up in the engine looked better than the real one.
Okay.
With the scuffs and the marks on the sink, and it looked insane. So
well, what can I say? After a long, hard day's work, there's nothing I look forward to more than a real-world and grounded representation of true mental terror.
Yeah, exactly. I think that there's a strong selling point there for anyone who needs a solid breakdown. And yeah, I don't think we'll get anything from Project Mara. I do think Hellblade 2. But they're clearly working on things, and they have been very quiet. So they're on my radar. I do need to play Hellblade. And I'm looking forward to seeing anything that they may throw at us.
Agreed.
So I'm purposefully holding back on a couple of the studios, just so we can go a little bit more in depth with them. So let's stick to the smaller ones now, and we're going to talk about Undead Labs. They're the developers of the State of Decay series. Now, we know that State of Decay 3 is in the works. Could we finally be getting that next-gen co-op zombie game that we've been waiting for since Left 4 Dead 2?
I really hope so. I feel like, a bit like space exploration games, zombie games are something that there's some quite good ones, but there's never been one that quite scratches that itch for me. It makes me feel like this is the zombie world I want to play about in. Yeah. I enjoyed Dead Rising.
Yeah.
I felt like there was a lot of issues with the game design, but the concept and the gameplay itself was a lot of fun.
Well, the concept was pretty much Dawn of the Dead, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. Yeah, basically you're in a supermarket. Not a supermarket, you're in like a shopping mall, weren't you?
Yeah.
Use anything you can find to kill as many zombies as you possibly can. And it was a bit of a laugh. I think the storyline and the sort of the countdown timer to get to the end was a bit sort of off-putting. But the game itself was a lot of fun to play around in.
Yeah.
Left 4 Dead, as you mentioned, superb little game series, but very, very short.
We played quite a bit of that, I think.
We did, and it was quite fun because you had procedurally generated enemies, didn't you? So, yes. You know, every time you played it, they were coming at you from a different angle in different configurations.
Yeah, and I like that it was a co-op game, but there was that little element of the characters that shone through depending on which you were playing. It did feel different every time you played it. Yeah, I would love to see something like that back. And I think there is something like that. I can't remember what it's called, but there's something coming out soon that might scratch that itch, and I will find out and put a card up. But what I wanted from State of Decay 2, it just wasn't there. I wanted to be able to have this weird zombie world with the charming graphics and the just over-the-top cartoony glowing eyes and things, and be able to experience that in a really fluid co-op way. And I think that was missing, for me personally.
I think a lot of the recent zombie games have sort of focused too much on the survival element, and it becomes, you know, you've sort of got to avoid or tackle the zombies to get some resources to go and build your base so that you're safe from the zombies, and then make sure you don't run out of ammo so you can shoot the zombies. And it just doesn't seem as much fun as, you know, the point of zombies is meant to be tons of them, and they sort of come at you relentlessly, and you're meant to be able to hack through 100 of them and still be concerned about the amount that are coming towards you. There's a balance to be struck somewhere, and I don't think anyone's quite got it yet, but, you know, it's still exciting to see people working on it.
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to see more before I make up my mind. And again, all this stuff is coming to Game Pass, so I will be able to play it. At launch, maybe, who knows. I like Undead Games. I would like to see what they do with this and how they're going to make this different from 2. So yeah, again, I'm on my radar. I'm not sold yet, but we'll see. Now, does Age of Empires do anything for you?
Not really.
No, right. So with the greatest respect, we will skip World's Edge because I couldn't say much about Age of Empires or the work that they do. So we'll swiftly move on to inXile Entertainment, which for me is another interesting one. Again, a recent acquisition from Microsoft, and Wasteland 3 was an excellent game. They've just had some DLC come out for it recently too. I think actually Wasteland 3 was one of my favourite games of the last 12 months.
Do you know, I've just started playing Wasteland 3 off the back of your playthrough videos. I enjoyed watching you play through it, so I thought I'd give it a go myself, but I'm still maybe only 2 hours into it.
It's just wacky, isn't it?
It's a lot of fun. Like the universe that you're inhabiting there is very novel.
Yeah, it's charming right the way through. And again, it's that turn-based strategy element that I don't think a lot of games do, and when they do, it's usually not very well.
Yeah, so the XCOM style combat, isn't it? But put in a sort of a more continuous story and a larger battle arena.
Yeah, I don't think we will get anything new from them. Maybe a reference to the new DLC. But again, studio to keep an eye out for because they do make some very interesting stuff. Another one, again, maybe not as storied as inXile, but Compulsion Games. They made We Happy Few a couple of years ago.
Yeah, now the worst thing I did with that was to download and play the beta, because I was really looking forward to We Happy Few, and then the beta was very buggy and there wasn't a lot in it, and I didn't have a lot of fun, and then just sort of lost interest in it. I wish I'd kind of sat tight and waited for the final product, to be honest. That's excellent. On Game Pass though, right?
It's on Game Pass. Yeah, right. It's on Game Pass.
I'm going to go back to it.
I think I've put maybe 5 hours into it over the last few months. It has that Fable charm, that British humour. It's just a really interesting world.
It was sort of Orwellian, wasn't it? I think it starts off with you redacting news stories and taking pills.
Yeah, it's just a weird concept.
And then when the pills wear off, the world is actually quite bleak, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and the use of colour and how they play about with the idea of the drugs and then the Orwellian side, and the story was very fun. So yeah, definitely give it a go. Don't be put off by the beta.
Yeah,
because it
I
played
think
really well.
It's unfair to judge a final product on the standard of its beta. I think I will go back to that one.
No, definitely worth a go. And I don't know if they're working on anything new. We might get a little sneak peek of something with us being 3 years on from We Happy Few. But if they wanted to do more in that universe, I'd be very happy to see it. So we recently had a conversation about Perfect Dark.
Yeah.
And we know a reboot is in the works. So my question, with the initiative working on it, how do you think Perfect Dark can stand out against everything else in that genre? And do you think there is a way to redefine the spy shooter through Perfect Dark?
I don't know. I think Perfect Dark... I never played the popular N64 game. I didn't really get into the one on the 360, Perfect Dark Zero.
Which is on Game Pass.
Is it really?
Yeah. It was a rare game, I think.
Oh, right. Well, I know, I was probably in a minority of not really connecting with that game. I didn't think it was bad. It just never really landed with me.
Yeah.
But I do like the style of it. I think for a Perfect Dark game, and you want to be compelling, it will have to really sort of lean into its stylized graphics and setting, and maybe go down the route of Deathloop. Campy over the top 60s inspired theme tunes for Joanna Dark.
I quite like that idea, but I would maybe do it near future.
Okay.
So I would shunt it up a little bit so it's not playing in that area of Hitman. And it's near future, but similar style. Again, it has to be first-person shooter. But you would take that cel-shaded vibe and maybe play with it in that way, do some interesting things with the weapons. Again, I think a game like Perfect Dark, you need to connect with the protagonist.
Yeah.
So you would have to get some amazing voice actor in to do Joanna Dark and throw her into situations that really pull you into the combat.
Do you know who they need?
Go on.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge. She's got a very distinctive voice, and she can also write
She was the
very
robot
witty.
in Solo, wasn't she?
I don't know. She was Fleabag.
Yeah, never seen it.
Oh, it's good. You should watch Fleabag.
Maybe.
There's not many episodes.
She's in Indiana Jones 5.
Yes, yeah. But she writes very witty script, so I reckon you should just let her script her own characters' words and then voice them. I think she'd be a great choice. That
could be a selling point as well. I know she has a lot of fans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there is a way to do it. I don't know how you'd do it, but the initiative seem to know what they're doing. So yeah, I think we'll get something. Again, I believe it's been confirmed. If not, it's one of those worst kept secrets in gaming. But yeah, I would expect a little hint at where this reboot is going. We also have Double Fine Productions. They have Psychonauts 2 due out later this year, and first game, I believe, has just hit Game Pass in the last couple of weeks. So I'm sure we'll be seeing more of Psychonauts 2, but it's not really a franchise I know much about.
Nor me. I've never played it.
We will move on then, but I'm sure there will be something
Let's
there.
keep our eyes on that for E3.
Again, we're coming into the last 4 studios. This is quite a long slog. But we can get through this.
Am I boring you?
Well, that's up to the audience. We can probably get through this one quite quickly. With Mojang Studios, famous of course for Minecraft, I don't think there will ever be a Minecraft 2.
How would you do it?
Unless you upgraded the tech and changed the design.
But you could kind of do that. Just deploy it into the existing game, couldn't you? You could polish the graphics, change it.
But would it be Minecraft if it wasn't 16-bit?
I don't know. I mean, that's the charm of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's still popular.
It's the best-selling video game of all time.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's on everything. You can probably play it on a fridge these days. So, yeah, I don't think there will ever... It will be how they incorporate Minecraft into other tech, like the HoloLens demo from a few years ago. That they will be playing with it like that. And I know that schools in the UK were looking at how can we use Minecraft to teach kids, computing and programming and stuff like that. So, I don't think that there will ever be another Minecraft 2.
You can play cooperatively, can't you, or competitively? Because I remember going to a friend's house and playing with his son, and it was a competitive game, and he kept on slowing me down and routing me to the spot and increasing his speed and his strength and taking away all my equipment.
I don't know if that's...
Kids don't play fair is the,
the
moral of this story.
They really don't play fair. But I know that there's a huge modding sort of community as well, so I don't know if some of it's modded, some of it's official. But I think that Mojang just let anybody make whatever they want in Minecraft, and I've had some fun in it in the past. But one thing that I really did enjoy that took me by total surprise was Minecraft Dungeons. Again, this is just celebrated its first anniversary, so it might be a little bit soon. But could we be getting some kind of announcement for a sequel?
We could. I never played Minecraft Dungeons.
Well, we'll have to try it.
Okay. Yeah,
definitely.
Put that one on the to-do co-op list.
Yeah, and now you've got Game Pass, you can download it to your heart's content.
Sure.
Yeah, it's just a lot of fun. It's a really easy to play dungeon crawler. With the Minecraft sort of aesthetic, it's still that 16-bit, it's still got that charm.
Is it still the same sort of build and mine?
No building. No building. It is just go through a dungeon, fight some enemies, get some loot.
Oh, why not? Yeah,
different biomes, different areas. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, so I don't think we will get it, but there might be something, maybe some DLC or something down the line. But we've mentioned them before.
Go on.
I think we will go to Rare now.
Oh, okay.
So with Sea of Thieves continuing to get a lot of play, do you think there could be something for new players announced?
Maybe. Yeah, I loved Sea of Thieves. I've got a very big soft spot for it. My only sort of regret is that it seems like the kind of game that would be great to play through with a big group of friends.
Yeah.
And I don't think I know enough people who have that game.
We could probably sort that out.
We could.
With the cross-play on PC now, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably expanded it. But I remember you and me played it for a bit, and it was a load of fun. Just like one of us trying to steer the damn thing, one of us manning the sails and fixing the boat and
the Kraken,
emptying out the water, and then the occasional Kraken or Megalodon or whatever that giant shark thing was called. It was a bit of a laugh, wasn't it?
It's one of those of beers and bros games.
Yeah.
Grab a few cans, a couple of beers, just sit there for a couple of hours and just enjoy it.
Tell you what, the thing that makes me sad is the shortage of split-screen co-op games. Like, one of the great pleasures in gaming is to open up a pack of beers and sit on a sofa next to someone and play a game together. And it's great that you can do all this cross-play across consoles, across PC, and from different sites, but there's nothing quite like just two of you sat staring at the same screen, having a beer, sat next to each other, enjoying each other's company.
I have a challenge then.
Go on.
Sea of Thieves, let's say at yours, one night, with beers, can't do it split screen, but one person with a controller on the TV, one person on the phone.
Okay.
Or tablet or whatever.
Yeah, alright.
That might work.
Right, let's do it.
Let's try that.
Let's
we'll give that a go. We'll give that one a go then. Also with Rare, one of the highlights from the last Microsoft conference last year was Everwild. It looks absolutely stunning, and I believe from the website it is due to be released at some point this year.
Now, this is one I'm not familiar with.
You haven't seen this. Okay, so it's... I don't even know how to describe it. It was probably an in-engine video, but it was just footage.
Yeah.
There wasn't any gameplay. It looked very much like just an explory kind of, you're part of a tribe. There's very big nature elements and healing deers and all this kind of weird, potentially you're against the elements, overlooking this wonderful land. Maybe there's some external threats or something. It was just beautiful. It almost played out like a Studio Ghibli movie. The animation was that beautiful.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you what it's about. I have no clue. All I know is it looked great. And Rare usually do pretty good cutesy stuff.
The problem at this stage, isn't it, when there's a new console and a lot of studios working on new games and all they want to show off is how pretty they can make things look and not necessarily what's reflective of the final game they're working on.
Yeah, very true. And with that said, and the potential release this year, we're not hearing anything, and of course the pandemic has thrown all kinds of things out. But do you think then, if they've been very quiet, could we get some kind of hands-on preview through the show?
We could. They've got to be doing something.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll pencil that one in then. I hope so. I would love to know more about this game. And I'll actually show you a trailer. I didn't realise you hadn't seen that. I will show you a trailer once we've finished this. And Rare, we can't not talk about both Banjo-Kazooie and Conker.
Oh, we absolutely can.
In this world, I think we have to. I think we have to. In this world, with social media as it is, do you think the world could handle the new Conker game?
You know what? It's not up my street, but each to their own.
You would need to be very clever with how you do it, but I don't think we'll ever get a new Conker game, to be honest. What about Banjo-Kazooie?
Couldn't be less interested.
Really?
And I'm sounding really negative about a load of games.
Yeah, kids' games. What are they?
I do enjoy playing games.
But
yeah, I think that's it's probably a little out of my. I'm not exactly target demographic, shall we say?
Banjo-Kazooie, I believe the last one was N64.
Oh, right, okay.
So that might not happen. I'd love to see it. I know there's so many fans for Banjo-Kazooie, and it deserves, or the fans deserve, some sort of love from Rare. But who knows, if they're not working on much else and we don't get Everwild, maybe there's a bit of a chance for Banjo-Kazooie over Conker, I'd say, but one of the two.
Something that's just sprung to mind, we should have probably covered it in the Ubisoft section, but this recent talk of pirates has reminded me, was there a game called Skull and Bones that Ubisoft were working on?
There was, and I've been waiting to see something for feels like a decade.
Yeah, because that was supposed to be an Xbox One game, wasn't it?
Well, wasn't the idea Black Flag, but just the pirate bit?
I kind of got the sense it was a bit more like a less cartoony and a bit more serious version of Sea of Thieves.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Which it could be.
It's still in development.
Okay, so they've not canned
heard
it.
anything.
Good.
They haven't canned it yet. Possibly, yeah. I'd love to see more. I don't ever think we'll actually see it, to be honest. And with how Ubisoft make games at the minute, would you want it?
No, good question.
Yeah,
I'd give it a look. I'd definitely give it a look.
As brutal as that is, I think it would need to have some strong sort of characters or story or some mechanic that makes you think, oh, this could be fun.
But what if it had a compelling open world?
I've fallen for that one about 6 times at this point. I think I'm done.
And can you have much of an open world when it's just the sea? It's like, well, you can go anywhere, but it's still just the sea.
There might be a beach somewhere.
There's some water over here. There's some water over there. Let's go to the water over
But
there.
look how pretty the water looks.
It's very pretty water. Anyway,
Hey,
more giant squids.
If you're on
Leviathans.
Dune, you'd kill for that water.
True.
But let's thinking of open world. Let's move on. The Coalition has impressed me personally with their stewardship of the Gears of War franchise, although it's now called Gears. I really enjoyed 4, and I loved 5 and the new approach to the series. I know you're not as hot on 5, and we still need to finish that as well.
I'm not against 5. I'm enjoying it. As you say, it's one that I haven't finished it, mainly because we are co-oping on it, and we don't get as much chance as we would like to co-op these days.
That's true.
But yeah, everything I've played of it has been very enjoyable. Same with 4. Yeah, you're right. The Coalition have done a great job with that franchise, and I think a 6 is inevitable, isn't it?
I think so.
I don't think it's really in question. It sells well, it plays well, it's usually critically well received.
And with the next gen update on 5, it looks so pretty.
Yeah, they'd be absolutely mad not to do a Gears 6, so I think we just sit back and wait for the inevitable release news.
Yeah, I think we'll hear something Gears this it's Sunday now. Might we be getting something more on the Funko Pop game?
Oh, that was quite fun. The little mobile game.
Yeah,
I did
5
quite enjoy
minutes
that.
it was all right. Yeah, could we be getting some special DLC? I haven't looked at it for about 2 years now, but
is that worth mentioning at E3?
It was announced at E3.
Was it? Okay.
So maybe
it was a little bit of
that's
past the time fun, wasn't
that's your Gears 6 tease. Here's a new character to Funko Pop, and then by the way, they're in Gears 6, and it gives you a proper trailer.
What would you do if they just changed the entire art style to Funko Pop?
I'd probably play 5 minutes of it when I was in the loo and walk away afterwards. And Gears Tactics. Did you ever play Gears Tactics?
I didn't, but I hear it's meant to be good. That's another XCOM style isometric turn-based.
Yes.
Yeah.
I haven't played it yet either. It is on Series X though.
Yeah, I saw, and I think that's on my to-do list as well.
That to-do list is growing.
It's huge. I've got so much to do, and not all of it fun. But yeah, I think the idea of it, the gameplay and the setting for Gears certainly lends itself well to that environment. So I'd be keen to give it a go.
I know that the characters were very well received, and the game itself was very well received, and the characters themselves actually did make it in as DLC for Gears 5.
Oh, nice.
So maybe they have a bit of future. There was a Hivebusters campaign that I think focused on them. I might be wrong there, but I definitely think we might get something from that. It was like the, and this actually ties us in nicely with our final studio, but Halo Wars. That similar kind of offshoot, different genre in that same game world. They seem to work really well with Microsoft.
Yeah, Halo Wars is that rare thing, isn't it? The sort of real-time strategy game that works well on a console.
Yeah.
I think Halo Wars was superbly executed, and all of the designs and the equipment is there for reuse, isn't it, in the Halo universe? So why not? Do you think we'll see anything about a Halo Wars 3? Do you think that's in the pipeline?
Well, that does lead us nicely into 343. There's a reason I left these guys till the end, because I think there's more to talk about with this. So, before the potential disappointment weighs me down.
Oh, don't be so
and we
negative.
get into Halo Infinite. Let's touch on Halo Wars then, because I loved Halo Wars. It sounds like you did too. Did you ever play Halo Wars 2?
It's on the to-do list.
It's on the to-do list. Okay. That's fine. That's okay. The way that Halo Wars 2 leads into Halo Infinite makes me think there won't be a Halo Wars 3 for some time, if ever, because I don't think it sold well. Which is a real shame, because I had a lot of fun with it.
Do you know what would be interesting? They could sort of do a hybrid of the two, like a Halo Wars section in a core Halo game. Where you maybe start off a mission commanding troops from a base ship, and then at a certain point you deploy the Master Chief and take on the first-person view.
But I mean, that would be it, though, wasn't it? You wait till your power level gets to deploy the Master Chief, and then it's game over.
It's basically press the win button.
Basically, yeah, that's all Chief seems to do these days. I'm currently reading the Shadows of Reach book. I love my Halo lore outside of the games. And I'm very interested in how that seems to tie in with Halo Wars 2 and the build-up to Infinite. Inside Infinite, the updates that they did, I don't know if you've seen many of these, they, post-delay, they seem to have really knuckled down and focused on what makes Halo Halo. The people who they've had in the sort of updates and the people they've spoken to, the developers, the sound designers, wherever, they've really shown this passion that they have for this franchise. But with Halo 4, I enjoyed it, many didn't. And Halo 5 being probably the most fluid and fun to play, but utter garbage for a campaign. How do you feel about Halo Infinite?
I'm not worried. I know there was a lot of blowback when they showed the trailer. Hello, Craig the Brute.
Hey, Craig.
Hey, Craig, how you doing? Good-looking guy, Craig the Brute. When his face loads, it's actually quite handsome. But no, I'm not worried, because even with the graphics being underwhelming, and I know it was a pre-release build of the game, it looked like a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah, it did.
And the Halo games have never not been fun. I think 4 was possibly a weak point of the series for me, mainly because I didn't like the Prometheans.
Yeah, that's true.
And as you say, 5, whatever you say about the campaign and the ending was quite divisive, I think. Playing as Locke was broadly unsatisfying for about 50% of the game, maybe more.
Well, it was about 80% was Locke, I think, so yeah.
But the fact is, there are a few games that live up to Halo in terms of multiplayer experience, and it is the one thing that I come back to time and again to play with friends. We just stick on the Halo, put a multiplayer sandbox on, and we just run around shooting each other, and it's never not fun.
Yep.
I sort of spend a good portion of the evening laughing out loud, having a couple of drinks. It's just like being right back at university again, I think. Yeah,
there's just this charm about it, and be it you're playing ranked, you're playing social, you're just playing a private match with a couple of friends.
So
it's just great.
Everything I saw of the Halo Infinite trailer that was problematic can be fixed, and probably has been fixed by now.
Yeah.
But the thing that was really exciting was that the gameplay looked right on point. It looked like it was an absolute laugh riot. And they could have deployed the game then, and I may have been a little bit underwhelmed with what was shown off as the graphics, and it might not have fully shown off what the Series X was capable of. But I would have still spent the last year having a load of fun playing the game, which is, I think, the main thing.
Yeah, I agree, and I know you're partial to a grappling hook, so...
I love a grappling hook. Any game with a grappling hook in. Yeah, just brightens up my day.
Yeah.
So seeing the Chief with one, superb.
Yeah,
Can't wait.
We actually, before we started recording this, we watched quite a couple of the trailers that we were going to talk about of the past announcements, one of them being the 8-minute gameplay footage of Halo Infinite, and we just sat here with smiles on our faces.
Yeah, it just looks loads of fun.
It looks great. It looks like Halo. Yes, graphically, I would love it to look like this art style, but as near to realistic as they can get it. I hope the extra time has been used to do as much as they can, and with ray tracing and all the mod cons to make it look and just visually pop off the screen. It looked a hell of a lot of fun to play, and that's really what I want from Halo. I want a great campaign, which the jury is out with 343 for me. The books have been excellent under their reign. The stories have been a little convoluted and messy, but I think that they have a core understanding of what makes Halo Halo. And I think approaching the 20th year anniversary this November the 15th to be precise.
Really? Okay.
I think that is going to just be a huge look, a big magnifying glass on Halo again. The game that redefined first-person shooters and really put shooters on the console market.
Yeah, I agree. I think Microsoft might be ready to bet the house on Halo this year round.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see when E3 rolls around. I think we're probably going to see some slightly better looking gameplay footage. I think we're probably going to see a few more video clips that might give a little bit more away about the story.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that we'll actually get to play a little bit of it. I think with previous Halo games, they've dropped like a multiplayer map and had a very simple multiplayer mode just to test it out.
Do you think they'll have a whole presentation on a little bit of the campaign and then this is what the multiplayer looks like as part of the conference?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Multiplayer is huge in Halo.
Even Halo 5 still has players. I looked on Twitch, the Twitch stats yesterday, and MCC gets at the lowest I think I've seen the last couple of days was 1,000 people watching it, which by Twitch numbers isn't huge. But for a game that is a collection of, 5-6 Halo games that are, you'd argue, quite old.
Yeah.
There's people still wanting to watch them, and there are content creators who are dedicated to Halo. And there's still a lot of love for that franchise.
There is. I mean, the fact is, you can put on a multiplayer game of Halo and it'll be just as fun as any other multiplayer game you've ever played. It never seems to grow stale.
Big team battle.
Always finding new tactics. You're always finding new situations. Ludicrous, ridiculous situations.
They have said no quite a few times. But do you think we're ready for a Halo Battle Royale?
Ooh, I think
if there's a franchise that would lend itself to a Battle Royale, it's Halo. You've got the vehicles. You've got a very simple sandbox of great weapons. The dash for power weapons has always been a part of Halo multiplayer. So you just incorporate that with all weapons.
Yeah, I think a Battle Royale would work very well in Halo. It would be absolute chaos. I think you'd have sort of vehicles flying left, right and centre. It would be a world of fun. Whether they'll do it or not, it does seem to be very much the fashion at the moment to include a Battle Royale with your shooter, doesn't it?
It does.
I guess it's almost one of those things that they wouldn't necessarily have to do at launch. That could be kind of a year, 2 years down the line as a nice little bonus just to keep the interest going.
Well, Infinite is the platform for the next 10 years of Halo. With the Slipspace engine that they've built custom, they've got all new stuff for this game. And this game is meant to set them up for the next decade at least.
Oh,
so it could come.
I thought Infinite was just a catchy title. I didn't realise they were just going to sort of leave it going forever.
No, it is legitimately now the length of Halo in Microsoft's eyes.
Okay.
I think down the line it would be crazy not to get Halo Battle Royale. I would love to see Big Team Battle be something like 32v32. Huge map, utter chaos, tanks, banshees, wasps, hornets, everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that was missing from Halo 5 was a game mode where you could just have loads of people all against each other, wasn't it? Like everything forced you into teams or small squads. But if you wanted to just put 16 people on a map all against each other, I don't think you actually had that option in Halo 5, did you?
You probably could have built it in Forge.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, that's another thing that I've never really dived into is, Forge and building custom maps and stuff. Again, there's a huge community out there for it.
Yeah, it's kind of the thing about that almost gets me about Minecraft as well. I think when people have a talent for it and can do it well, it yields some very impressive results. But I'm not a game designer, so stop handing me the tools to build a game. I won't build you a game, I'll build you crap.
But the fact that option is included free, for the people that want it and have clearly a vested interest and a talent for doing it.
Yeah, there are some absolutely... If you go to the custom-made maps on Halo 5, there's some absolutely cracking ones in there. Loads of fun, really smart designs. But there's also a mountain of bilge in there. And things have just been very badly made.
There is. But it does add to the fun still. But let's slowly bring this to a close. We do have our predictions to do, and I hope you've come prepared. But let's stick with that 20th anniversary. Do you think we will get anything about that? I don't know if that is when Infinite will release. I think it is. I think we're going to get Infinite on the 15th of November. Job done. But do you think that we may have a 5-minute slideshow or sizzle reel of remembering Halo at this E3? Or is that something for later in the summer by Microsoft?
Oh, I think that's a very good shout. I think this is possibly the beginning of the run-up to launch. And I think, as you say, delaying it by a year has almost gifted them this anniversary date to make a big deal out of the launch. I think we're incredibly likely to see a 15th of November launch date for Halo Infinite and probably announced at this year's E3.
As you will probably have guessed, I've checked the calendar.
And
the 15th is a Monday.
Okay.
So it could work.
Yeah. When do the game charts run to? Usually you sort of find that...
Halo recently, last couple, I think have dropped on Tuesdays.
Right, okay.
So, I don't know. I mean, they could, with Game Pass, they can just say, it's going on Game Pass. And it's done.
True. I think if you look on the Xbox app at the moment for Halo Infinite, there's a listing on there, and it'll let you download it to your console. I'm not sure if that actually triggers anything, because I don't think it's connected to anything at the back end on Microsoft servers. But
no,
there's certainly the page there on the Xbox app to start downloading it, and my suspicion was that might have been the placeholder for the multiplayer only launch, because I think, aren't they with Infinite making the multiplayer free in a similar way to Call of Duty's Battle Royale game? Warzone. Yes,
multiplayer is 100% free. Halo Infinite will day one be on Game Pass.
Yeah.
PC, Xbox Series X, S, and One. And your multiplayer is free, so you don't even need to download the campaign if you don't want to. Which again, I think that very customer focused, very forward thinking, and they're clearly saying Halo is our big brand. We want to make the multiplayer as accessible as possible, and we will use the campaign to pull people into Game Pass. So I think we're going to see a lot of what Microsoft has in store for the future in how they market and how they present Halo Infinite. And I'm expecting, I don't know how long this conference is, I think it's about an hour and a half long. I'm expecting a good 20-minute section of just Halo. Be at the start, be at the end. I want live action trailer, I want gameplay footage, I want multiplayer, I want dates, I want Spartans in costume on stage. I want it all.
Do you think we're going to see... You're just making me think of the Stark Expo from the start of Iron Man 2 now. Lots of sort of dancing women dressed as Master Chief.
Well, I wouldn't say no. Yeah, I will take that. Is that one of your predictions? Let's move on to our predictions now then. I will let you go first. You may have just seen my first prediction. But fire away.
Now, is this prediction about games we're going to see, or sort of events that we're going to see? Or a bit of both?
Bit of both. I mean, it's focused on the conference itself, but it can be whatever you want about Xbox. If you think it's going to be shown in this conference, throw it out there.
All right. So I think we've decided that it's a near certainty that Halo Infinite is going to be shown prominently.
Yeah.
I would like to see them double down on their link with Jeremy Clarkson and have him appear on stage in a real-life warthog.
Is Jeremy Clarkson uncancelled yet?
I think he's quite popular now because he's running a farm.
He's running a farm?
He is, yeah. He's doing a farming show on Amazon.
Has he got a warthog to herd the sheep?
Oh, that would be ideal, wouldn't
it? That's a hell of a prediction. That's quite
likely to come true.
That's quite a prediction. I mean, we'll see. If you can get Keanu Reeves there, you can certainly get Jeremy Clarkson.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, interesting. My first prediction, again, Halo themed, but I'm doubling down. Halo Infinite, 15th of November. Completely, absolutely cast iron release date, with the multiplayer alpha kicking off right after the conference.
Ooh,
so it ends with Halo multiplayer, the final card, available now.
Well, that sort of lines up with what I was just saying about the download page becoming available, doesn't it?
And
I think you could be onto something with that.
You will see on the screen, and you will be able to see in our recording software. Xbox and Bethesda Games Showcase. The picture that they're using to promote this is 4 Spartans. Looks like multiplayer. It's clearly got the new multiplayer cosmetics. I think that is a little nod to 100% you are getting Halo multiplayer flighting after the conference.
I think what Halo definitely needs is a bit more customization of your multiplayer character.
Reach customization was the peak.
I don't object to sort of certain fancy items having to be earned through gameplay, but I think Halo 5 went too far in that direction. Like everyone looks the same
restricted.
Unless you play and play and play and play.
And the fact that you had a bodysuit and armor and a helmet, you should have, arms, shoulder pads, leg pads, pouches for your armor, weapon holsters, all kinds of different things.
Yeah, I think we might see a return of that in the multiplayer, a bit more character editing.
Yeah, I think that's a guarantee, to be honest. Or is that your prediction number 2? Or do you want to shoot?
My prediction number 2 is that we will see something new and strange on the Xbox from Hideo Kojima.
Oh, interesting.
Because I've heard on the grapevine that he's looking at working with Microsoft on something a little bespoke for them.
He's independent as well now, isn't he?
He is, yeah. So, typically he's been linked to PlayStation since the Metal Gear Solid franchise kicked off on the original PlayStation.
Well, he was Konami, was it Konami?
Yeah. And
for many years.
Of course there was a recent pedestrian simulator Death Stranding.
Yes, that's true.
Don't lose your balance.
Hey, but Norman Reedus looked pretty good.
True, yeah. Interesting concept. I don't know how well it worked in practice.
No.
But, there's no one doing more exciting things in gaming than Kojima, so I'd be very keen to see what they come up with for the Xbox. That
sounds like a sensible prediction.
Well, I do have a few.
I might have to be worried by this, because there is something at stake for these. We are betting around at our local pub.
Oh, really?
The winner gets a free first drink.
Oh, God. So Clarkson on the Warthog, then?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you invite Clarkson to pay for the first round, that might get you out of it. But so far...
I'll have to pay for his own Warthog.
I wouldn't mind one. I don't know what the insurance would be on it, though.
Oh, I'd drive one.
My second prediction. This one, again, a little bit more serious. And I hope I'm wrong. But at this point, we're pretty used to seeing Sony getting hold of the Final Fantasy franchise. So my prediction is that we won't hear anything about Final Fantasy VII Remake or Final Fantasy XIV. It will just be a big Final Fantasy-shaped hole in the conference.
Oh, okay. Why? Why do you think they would not go down that route? You don't think there might be a Final Fantasy 16?
There is. It's PlayStation console exclusive.
Okay.
That was announced last year. And I believe the Final Fantasy XIV is the online MMO that everybody seems to love. It's available on or coming to PS5 with no mention of Xbox. It is on PC though.
Okay.
So you can get it the PC aspect. But I just think that Final Fantasy is again a franchise that is just moving away from Xbox because the popularity of PlayStation. And for a business model, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, that's it. It's another one that Sony seem to have their hooks into. They know it's a big name. They know that it's something that people think of when they think of computer games.
And they have a big history with it.
That's it. I mean, that's Sony's business model is that when people think of their favourite games, they think of Final Fantasy, God of War, and then they can only get those games on PlayStation. That's what's going to sell their consoles.
Yep.
Yeah, you could be right.
So your third, and we've capped it at final. So fire away.
Yeah, so as I say, first prediction was a little bit flippant. Second one was a little bit more sensible. The third
I think that was a good shout.
The third one is hopeful, and that is for a new Splinter Cell game. Something properly next generation, with a new story, and a bit more of a commitment to the style of game it wants to be. I'm hoping more of a return to the slow-paced, stealthy stalking action of the early games than the sort of the rapid pace, tag and kill everyone in a second action of the later ones. Not that wasn't fun. I just really missed a very compelling, pacey, tense spy game.
Yeah, I would like to see that myself, actually.
Not likely to happen. I think, again, if there was something like that in the pipeline, news might have leaked out before now, especially if it was at a point where it's ready to show. So it's a bit of a long shot, but certainly it's something I really hope that someone's got at least in the back of their mind or on a planning document somewhere.
Well, I hope you're right, because I think that something like that would just be something really different to play. And I think that with modern gen, next gen, current gen, whatever we call it now, I think you can make some amazing worlds with some amazing tips and tricks to take people out.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is you leave it too long and you get an entirely new generation of gamers come through who are not familiar with the franchise. And then you lose...
I think we're at that now.
An element of the sale. Yeah, I suppose. When was the last Splinter Cell game?
Blacklist.
10 years
2014, I want to say. 2013.
Right. Okay. So...
No, it was a 360. It was one of the last launches on 360. So 2012, 2013, yeah.
Yeah, so going on for the best part of a decade without anything in that series.
It's a whole generation, isn't it? That's how you look at it.
Yeah, you've got a group of kids growing up who've got their consoles and never probably sat down and played a Splinter Cell game.
Yeah, but they've got Fortnite. Maybe that's it. Sam Fisher in Fortnite, maybe that's the reveal.
Yeah, maybe. Fortnite seems to be consuming everything now, doesn't it?
It certainly does. Okay, so I hope you're right. I hope that comes true.
Go on then, what's your final prediction?
My third and final, this is one that I woke up a couple of days ago and thought, that's my final prediction. It's very specific and utterly stupid, more in line with your Jeremy Clarkson one.
Oh, really?
But I predict that we will see a Game Pass trailer that features someone playing, and this is specifically, it's the only way I win the point, somebody playing games on their Surface Duo mobile phone. And I don't know why this popped into my head, but I think we're going to get that big trailer, xCloud, blah, 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 and it'll be, instead of a Surface tablet, it will be the dual mobile phone.
Now, the Surface Duo, that's been out in America for a while, hasn't it?
Yes.
And it never really took off over here, did it?
It came out about 3-6 months ago. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But it was, I don't think you could get it on contract. It was a buy outright thing at 1,500 quid. It looks amazing. I want one. I love my Microsoft peripherals and the Microsoft Band, Microsoft Band 2, all that stuff I absolutely love. Never really practical though. And certainly not at the price that they want for the phone. But I think the big push with Game Pass and xCloud, they will use. I mean, it could be Samsung. They are partnered with Samsung for some of this stuff as well.
I suspect if they were going to do it, they would go with some kind of cutting-edge smartphone rather than something that they've had.
But 2 screens, Sam. 2 screens.
I know. It's a slick concept. I really liked it. I can see why it went wrong, because to make it affordable to anyone, they had to get 2 middle-range phones and stick them together with hinges.
Yeah.
If they'd have done 2 top-end phones and made it really good, it would have been unaffordable to everyone and it still wouldn't have sold. So I love the concept. Apple. I just don't see how they're going to make it a commercial success. But you should get one.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how well this video does.
Go on.
Maybe that should be the prediction. You know, if you win the prediction, the other person buys you a Duo.
Do you think within the next 7 days this video is going to be so successful that we both end up on stage closing the...
With Duos in hand? No, I don't think there's any chance of this video being successful at all, mate, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think there was any... there's certainly no new insights in Lara Croft's pointy boobs, was there?
No. I mean, that might bring up someone's nostalgia.
Yeah, you never know.
But that's where we're going to call this one. I think we've had quite a lot of fun, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to record this with me, Sam.
Thanks for having me, Sam. It was an absolute pleasure
for having you on. Maybe we'll have you on again.
Lovely. Look forward to it.
And I'd love to hear what you all think about this style of video. It's something different for the channel. And let me know what your predictions are for the conferences. Not just Xbox and Bethesda, but every one of them, because we're going to try and cover as many as we can. Hopefully, we'll get to see some truly amazing games that we can all look forward to and play together in the near future. And, as always, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.